Welcome. This is a calm story. Tonight, we explore one of the mysteries of our world. You can listen with curiosity, or you can simply relax. There is nothing you need to do. Just listen, and let the story begin. Deep in the heart of Cappadocia, in Turkey, there lies a city carved entirely beneath the earth. This is Derinkuyu, a labyrinth of tunnels and chambers that could shelter up to 20,000 people. Imagine descending into this hidden world, where entire neighborhoods unfold quietly below the surface. Bedrooms, kitchens, schools, and wells are connected by twisting corridors, each turn revealing another secret chamber. The air is cool, carrying the faint echo of lives long ago. Here, life continued in a rhythm dictated by the stone walls that surrounded every step, by the careful flow of air through hidden shafts, and by the faint glow of oil lamps that lit each pathway. Families moved softly through these passages, children learning and playing in shadowed rooms, adults tending daily chores, all under the protection of the earth above. It is a city that hums with quiet ingenuity, a place where human life persisted far from the sun, safe from the dangers and storms of the world above. From the surface, it is impossible to imagine the depth these ancient cities reach. Some stretch more than 60 meters beneath the ground, a vertical world of stone and shadow. Picture descending carefully, step by step, into the cool, silent earth. Every level opens into new rooms and corridors, each carved with care and purpose, some wide enough for families to gather, some narrow and intimate, perhaps intended for quiet reflection or hidden storage. The deeper you go, the cooler the air becomes, the soft hum of life above fading until all that remains is the whisper of stone and the faint, lingering sense of centuries past. In these hidden depths, time seems to slow. One could walk for hours through these winding passages and never encounter the same corridor twice. Every corner, every archway, tells a story of human perseverance, of generations shaping the earth to create a home where sunlight never reaches, and yet life continues quietly, patiently, enduring. Even far below the surface, the air remained alive and flowing. Ingenious ventilation systems carried fresh air into every chamber, every hidden passage. Shafts were carved with precision, allowing the circulation of air so that inhabitants could breathe easily, even deep within the earth. Imagine standing in a long corridor, the soft, cool current of air moving gently around you, a silent reminder of the care with which these cities were built. The builders understood the necessity of life itself, shaping tunnels not just for shelter, but for survival. Air flowed through hidden shafts, carrying away smoke and warmth, keeping the spaces livable and comfortable. In many ways, these underground cities were not just shelters, but living, breathing systems, designed with a foresight that continues to astonish us today. Breathing in the cool, filtered air, you can almost feel the centuries of careful planning, the hands of those who carved and maintained these secret worlds, creating a sanctuary that truly sustained life beneath the earth. In the quiet labyrinth of these cities, security was paramount. Massive stone doors, some weighing several tons, were carved and positioned to seal rooms and passageways from the outside world. Imagine standing before one, the cold surface smooth under your fingers, its weight promising protection and secrecy. These doors were guardians, silent and immovable, keeping families safe from invaders, storms, or other dangers. They could be closed and reopened with careful effort. Yet when in place, they rendered the underground city nearly impervious. Walking through corridors lined with these heavy doors, you sense both the weight of the stone and the weight of history, the presence of countless people who relied on them for safety. And yet, even with such strength, life within continued as usual. Children moving carefully around corners, soft voices echoing faintly, lamps flickering gently in the dim glow. These doors were not just physical barriers. They were symbols of endurance and ingenuity, protecting life quietly beneath the earth. Cappadocia is a land of mystery, its surface soft hills and valleys hiding more than 200 underground settlements. Each one is unique, carved carefully into the rock, yet together they form a network of hidden human activity stretching for miles. Some were entire communities, with multiple levels, kitchens, sleeping areas, and storage rooms, while others were smaller, designed as temporary shelters during times of danger. Imagine walking across the sunlit hills, unaware of the worlds beneath your feet, corridors winding silently through stone, centuries of life preserved in shadow. Every settlement carries the imprint of those who lived there, who created, maintained, and adapted these spaces to survive. It is as if the earth itself holds secrets, quietly folded away, waiting for the curious to imagine the lives once lived in its cool embrace. Beneath the streets of Paris lies a hidden world that most people never see. The catacombs stretch for over 300 kilometers, a labyrinth of tunnels carved from limestone over centuries. Originally, these tunnels were quarries, mined as far back as the Roman era to provide stone for buildings and roads. By the late 18th century, as Paris grew overcrowded and cemeteries became dangerously full, the bones of millions of people were moved into these tunnels, carefully arranged in walls and stacks. Walking through them today, the air is cool and still, filled with a faint earthy scent, and every echo seems to carry a whisper of history. The walls are lined with skulls and femurs, arranged like silent sentinels, reminding us of life, death, and the passage of time. Here, in this shadowed underground city, centuries of human activity and care are preserved, quietly awaiting those willing to imagine the lives and stories of the people above. Not every underground city was meant for permanent living. Many, like those in Cappadocia, were designed as temporary refuges during times of invasion or war. For centuries, nomadic tribes, soldiers, and entire villages would descend into these tunnels when danger approached. Imagine families gathering in the cool darkness, children peering into shadowed corners, while adults quietly carried out daily tasks. These spaces were equipped with kitchens, storage rooms, and even small chapels, allowing life to continue as normally as possible under extraordinary circumstances. The tunnels were carved carefully over decades, sometimes centuries, reflecting the ingenuity and patience of the builders. Each narrow passage, each hidden doorway, tells a story of survival and adaptation, a quiet testament to the resilience of human life beneath the surface, protected from the turmoil of the world above. Beneath the streets of Edinburgh, Scotland, lies another world that few ever see. The city's underground vaults were constructed in the late 18th century, as the old town grew crowded and expensive. Originally, these vaults were home to workshops, taverns, and homes, a thriving network of activity beneath the stone streets above. People lived and worked in these dimly lit corridors, and at night, the vaults were filled with the soft glow of lamps, carrying the sounds of hammers, laughter, and conversation. Over time, however, poverty, disease, and flooding caused many of these underground spaces to be abandoned, leaving only silence and shadow. Today, walking through the vaults, it is easy to imagine the people who once lived here. The merchants, artisans, and families, moving through the corridors in quiet rhythm, unaware that centuries later, their hidden city would be preserved as a secret beneath modern Edinburgh. Throughout history, humans have not only lived underground, they have revered it. In cultures across the world, subterranean spaces were considered sacred, places connected to ancestors, spirits, or hidden wisdom. In Anatolia, for instance, early Christians used underground cities not only as shelters, but as secret places of worship, carving chapels, prayer niches, and frescoes into the walls. Similarly, in ancient Egypt and the Near East, tunnels and tombs were treated as sacred passages, connecting the living to the afterlife. Descending into these spaces, you can imagine the quiet rituals, the soft chants, the reverent footsteps echoing through stone corridors. The underground was not just a place to survive. It was a place to reflect, to honor, and to connect with something larger than oneself. It is a reminder that beneath our feet, history and belief intertwine, preserved in silence and shadow. Even today, humans continue to expand life beneath the surface. Modern cities across the world, from Tokyo to Montreal, have vast networks of underground malls, train stations, and pedestrian corridors. These spaces are practical, yes, but they also carry the quiet, mysterious rhythm of history. In Tokyo, for example, entire underground neighborhoods stretch for kilometers, with shops, restaurants, and passageways that feel like hidden cities of their own. Imagine walking slowly through these corridors, the soft hum of people moving around you, the air cooler and calmer than the streets above. In a sense, these modern passageways are a continuation of an ancient tradition, humans carving and inhabiting the space beneath the earth. Life continues quietly below, linking the ingenuity of ancient builders to the needs of modern cities, a silent world of movement, calm, and continuity beneath our everyday lives. In many ancient underground cities, life was carefully organized. Some levels were dedicated entirely to animals, sheep, goats, or other livestock, while others were reserved for humans. This separation helped maintain cleanliness, warmth, and order in confined spaces. Imagine walking quietly through a long, low corridor, passing rooms where soft murmurs of animals drift through the air, the earthy scent of straw blending with the cool stone walls. Above or below, families moved silently, cooking meals or tending to daily chores, while children tiptoed around hidden corners. These cities were designed not only for survival, but for balance, ensuring that every living being had its place. Even in darkness, the rhythms of daily life were maintained, a soft, enduring pulse beneath the surface of the world. Water is life, and underground cities understood that fully. Many tunnels included hidden wells or cisterns, carved deep into the rock to provide clean water, even when the surface above was unsafe or contaminated. Imagine drawing water from a smooth stone well in dim light, feeling the cool liquid brush your fingers. These wells were carefully protected, often hidden behind stone doors or deep in labyrinthine corridors, known only to the residents. For centuries, they sustained entire communities, ensuring that life could continue quietly below, even in times of danger. The designers of these cities understood that water and air were the true lifelines of survival, and they planned with a meticulous care that still amazes archaeologists today. Walking through the corridors of underground cities, archaeologists often notice something remarkable. Blackened streaks along walls and ceilings, soot left behind by centuries of oil lamps. These soft, dark traces are evidence of life and activity, of kitchens and workshops where light was precious, carefully rationed, and tended with care. Imagine the faint, smoky scent lingering in the stone, a reminder of countless hands lighting lamps each day, shadows dancing along low ceilings and rough walls. Even in darkness, life continued with gentle rhythms. Meals prepared, stories told, prayers whispered. The soot is more than residue. It is history written in smoke, marking centuries of human presence in hidden corridors beneath the earth. In many underground settlements, life was complete and continuous. Children were born, raised, and sometimes even educated entirely beneath the surface. Imagine classrooms lit by flickering oil lamps, soft voices reading or singing, and the faint, comforting warmth of human presence in stone-walled rooms. Play and learning intertwined with daily chores and quiet family routines, all adapted to the unique environment of shadowed corridors. These children grew up with a different sense of the world. Light was measured in flickers, sound carried in echoes, and every day was guided by the rhythms of life below rather than the sun above. And yet, despite the darkness, laughter and learning filled the spaces with life, quietly, patiently, enduring through generations. The underground cities of Cappadocia and elsewhere were often carved from soft volcanic rock, known as tuff. This stone was easy to shape with simple tools, allowing generations to carve complex networks of rooms, corridors, and tunnels. Over time, the exposed surfaces hardened, creating durable structures that have survived for centuries. Imagine a family working carefully with chisels and hammers, smoothing walls, widening passageways, shaping a hidden home beneath the hills. The stone absorbed their effort, preserving it for the future. Today, walking through these spaces, the walls still feel alive, as though they remember the hands that carved them and the lives that moved quietly through shadowed corridors, shaping history in stone. Security was essential in underground cities, and architects used subtle design to protect residents. Many tunnels were deliberately narrow, forcing any intruders to move slowly, sometimes stooping or turning sideways to pass. Imagine moving carefully down such a corridor. The walls close on either side, the faint echo of your own footsteps amplified. Above or below, residents could quietly monitor passages, ready to close heavy stone doors or retreat to hidden chambers. These narrow tunnels were more than practical. They shaped the movement, the experience, and the rhythm of life underground, reinforcing a sense of caution and care while keeping families safe in the quiet depths beneath the surface. Across regions like Cappadocia, hundreds of underground settlements have been discovered, and archaeologists often wonder, were they all connected? Some tunnels might link neighboring cities, forming hidden networks that stretch for kilometers, a secret web beneath hills and valleys. Imagine tracing a path through stone corridors, knowing that somewhere far below, another hidden community could be just around the corner, linked by silent passageways. The idea fascinates historians and explorers alike, as it suggests a scale of planning and coordination previously unimaginable. Whether fully connected or isolated, each city reflects ingenuity and careful adaptation, a quiet testament to the hidden lives that flourished beneath the earth for generations. One of the most curious features of underground cities is the way sound travels. In low, vaulted tunnels, whispers can echo for surprisingly long distances, soft voices carrying through corridors far from their source. Imagine walking slowly through a dim passage, hearing a faint conversation from the other side of a room or down a curved hallway. Residents would have understood this effect intuitively, speaking softly when needed, or using echoes to communicate across hidden distances. In such spaces, even the smallest sound takes on meaning, and the quiet rhythms of life, footsteps, whispers, laughter, become a delicate symphony, filling stone corridors with the pulse of human presence. Food was carefully stored in underground chambers, where the stone walls kept temperatures remarkably stable throughout the year. Grain, fruit, and other essentials could be preserved for months, even in harsh winters or dry summers. Imagine entering a storage room, the air cool and slightly earthy, the faint scent of preserved food lingering. Barrels and baskets lined the walls, stacked carefully by generations of residents. These chambers were essential for survival, providing nourishment quietly, away from the dangers and fluctuations of life above. In the cool, shadowed spaces, families could rely on steady provisions, allowing life to continue smoothly and calmly in their hidden home beneath the surface. Not all underground cities were permanent. As centuries passed and the surface world became safer, many cities were gradually abandoned. Families returned to sunlight, fields, and open skies, leaving their hidden corridors behind. Imagine walking through these tunnels centuries later, the walls still bearing the marks of life once lived. Soot from lamps, worn stone floors, niches where tools or food were kept. Even in abandonment, the cities retain a quiet presence, the memory of generations folded into their architecture. They are silent witnesses to human resilience, ingenuity, and the delicate balance between shelter and freedom. Beneath the hills and valleys, the story of life underground remains, waiting patiently for those who wish to imagine it. In many underground cities, life wasn't only about survival, it was also about spirit. Hidden chapels and small prayer rooms were carved into stone, often tucked behind secret doors or down narrow corridors, offering quiet spaces for reflection and devotion. In Cappadocia, early Christian communities would gather in these rooms, lighting oil lamps that flickered softly across hand-carved walls, creating moving shadows that seemed to dance in time with their prayers. Imagine the hush of whispered chants, the faint smell of candle smoke mixing with the earthy scent of stone, the gentle rhythm of footsteps echoing in silent passageways. These sacred chambers were carefully integrated into daily life. Even as children played or families prepared meals nearby, the spaces remained serene and protected. In the darkness, one could feel both safety and reverence, a reminder that beneath the earth, humans sought not only to survive but to connect with something greater than themselves, quietly and patiently, over centuries. Light was precious in underground cities, and it was carefully managed. Oil lamps and small torches were used sparingly, reserved for cooking, gathering, or essential work, leaving many corridors in near-complete darkness. Imagine walking slowly down a long tunnel, guided only by a dim flicker of light at intervals, the shadows stretching along the stone walls. In the silence, your footsteps echo gently, every sound magnified and absorbed by the stone. Living with limited light shaped the daily rhythm. Movement was deliberate, conversations were hushed, and tasks required patience and care. Over time, people adapted, learning to navigate by memory and touch, developing a quiet awareness of the space around them. Even in shadow, the tunnels were alive, filled with the subtle sounds and rhythms of everyday life beneath the surface. Archaeologists have discovered traces of pigments on some walls, suggesting that certain rooms or chambers were once painted or decorated. Imagine soft reds, ochres, or faint blues, colors carefully applied to bring warmth and personality into otherwise austere stone spaces. These painted areas might have marked sacred places, communal halls, or living quarters, adding comfort and meaning to underground life. Imagine passing a small chamber where a faint red streak curves along the wall, or a soft symbol that may have been intended to protect, inspire, or bless the inhabitants. Even in near darkness, humans sought beauty and expression, reminding us that creativity is a universal need. In these hidden cities, art was not merely decoration. It was a quiet assertion of life, identity, and hope in shadowed, enduring spaces. Many corridors and rooms were carved with low ceilings, both to conserve space and because of the limitations of tools and rock. Imagine moving through such a passage, stooping slightly with every step, feeling the smooth stone brushing gently against your head. This constant awareness of low ceilings shaped movement and behavior, encouraging slow, deliberate steps, soft voices, and careful attention to surroundings. Children learned to tiptoe or duck through these spaces. Adults navigated with practiced ease, and every day unfolded in a calm, measured rhythm. The design shaped not only survival, but also the experience of being underground, creating an intimate, human-scale environment where mindfulness became second nature, and the pace of life was naturally slowed by the architecture itself. One of the quiet advantages of underground life was the steady, stable environment. The humidity and temperature remained remarkably constant, which helped preserve stored food, wooden tools, and textiles. Imagine opening a cool, shadowed storage room, the faint scent of dried grains and preserved foods filling the air. Baskets of grain, jars of dried fruits, and neatly stacked wooden implements line the walls, evidence of careful planning and foresight. Families could rely on these stores for months, sometimes through harsh winters or dry summers, allowing life to continue calmly and predictably. This constant environment shaped the rhythm of existence underground, a world where careful preparation, patience, and the quiet flow of time ensured survival and comfort in the hidden, enduring heart of the city. Many tunnels were carved with gentle curves rather than straight lines, a subtle yet brilliant design choice. These bends prevented outsiders from seeing deep into the city, increasing security, and they also blocked cold drafts, keeping living spaces warmer and more comfortable. Imagine walking slowly through a curved corridor, each turn revealing a new chamber or staircase, your footsteps echoing softly against the walls. The curves created a rhythm of movement, a gentle suspense as each bend unfolded a new secret of the city. In this way, architecture shaped daily life. Residents moved deliberately, aware of the twists and turns, and life proceeded in a quiet, protected, and measured manner. Every curve was a small act of safety, comfort, and intention. Even in hidden, shadowed cities, cleanliness was essential. Waste management systems, simple channels, pits, or small drains, carried refuse away from living areas, keeping the air fresh and the city habitable. Imagine walking along a quiet corridor, the faint sound of water moving gently in stone channels, carrying away what was no longer needed. These systems demonstrate foresight and care, ensuring that thousands of people could live in close quarters without danger of disease or odor. Life moved in a calm, organized rhythm. Food was prepared, water drawn, waste carefully disposed of, and the city functioned silently like a living organism, balancing comfort, hygiene, and survival beneath the surface. In some underground cities, animals played unexpected roles. Pigeons, for example, were often kept near entrances or ventilation shafts, acting as early warning systems. Imagine the soft cooing of birds echoing faintly through tunnels, alerting residents to movement or danger above. Livestock and smaller animals also had practical uses, providing food, warmth, and companionship. In the quiet labyrinth of stone corridors, humans and animals coexisted with subtle coordination, each understanding their role. The gentle rhythm of life included the faint sounds and scents of animals, quietly contributing to survival, comfort, and vigilance, a soft, enduring pulse in the hidden city below. The builders of underground cities understood the way sound behaved in stone. Some chambers were deliberately constructed to absorb or diffuse sound, creating quiet spaces for rest, reflection, or private conversation. Imagine stepping into one of these rooms, your footsteps softened, your whispers barely carrying beyond the walls. The effect is almost magical, a space that feels removed from the rest of the labyrinth, where silence itself seems to rest in the stone. Such chambers offered respite from the constant activity of the city, allowing inhabitants to pause, reflect, and rest safely in the hush of carefully carved spaces. Sound and silence were part of life underground, shaping rhythm, mood, and a sense of calm. Even after a city was abandoned, it did not remain static. Over centuries, tunnels shifted slightly, walls weathered, and the roots of plants above began to creep into hidden chambers. Imagine wandering through such a forgotten city, the air cool and still, the stone floor uneven beneath your feet, shadows stretching in the dim light of imagination. Despite abandonment, the traces of life remain. Soot on ceilings, worn stone floors, niches where food or tools were kept. These changes are gentle and patient, like the earth itself slowly carrying forward the story of the people who once lived here. Underground cities, though silent, continue to tell their stories, evolving with time while quietly preserving the echoes of human presence and ingenuity beneath the surface of the world. Many underground cities were built with entrances that were invisible to outsiders, carefully disguised to blend seamlessly with the surface world. Some doors were hidden behind walls, beneath staircases, or beneath ordinary-looking buildings, so that only those who knew their location could enter safely. Imagine walking through a quiet village on a sunlit afternoon, unaware that just beneath your feet lies a hidden labyrinth stretching for kilometers. Residents would slip in and out silently, moving through cool, shadowed corridors while the world above went on, oblivious to the life below. The entrances were often small, sometimes just large enough for one person, creating a sense of intimacy and secrecy. These hidden doors were not just practical, they were symbolic, a gentle reminder of human ingenuity, resilience, and the delicate balance between exposure and protection in a world where safety was never guaranteed. In addition to concealed entrances, many underground cities featured secret escape tunnels, sometimes extending for kilometers to forests, rivers, or distant villages. These tunnels were designed to be narrow, winding, and deliberately confusing to anyone unfamiliar with the layout. Imagine running quietly through one of these passageways, the cold stone brushing against your hands as you follow the curves, knowing that this secret route could carry you far away from danger above. Generations of families relied on these tunnels during invasions or raids, moving silently and cautiously through corridors that were both protective and disorienting. Archaeologists still debate the full extent of these hidden pathways. Some may never have been discovered, preserving their mystery. They stand as a quiet testament to human foresight and the constant desire to survive in harmony with the earth. Fires provided warmth and light, but in some underground cities, they also served a subtle communication purpose. Smoke from carefully controlled fires could travel through ventilation shafts or hidden openings, signaling other rooms of activity or warning of danger. Imagine a faint wisp of smoke curling through a distant corridor, rising slowly in the cool, stone air, carrying messages without a single word spoken. Families would interpret these signs intuitively, knowing when to gather, cook, or stay silent. In the labyrinth of stone tunnels, every small movement, every flicker, and every scent had meaning. Even in darkness, humans found ways to connect, to signal, and to organize their lives, creating a hidden language that only those who lived underground could fully understand. Safety was essential, and many underground cities contained rooms specifically for weapons, tools, and farming implements. Imagine entering a low, dimly lit chamber where neatly arranged spears, daggers, or shovels line the walls, carefully maintained and ready for use. These storage areas ensured that residents could defend themselves or continue essential tasks without ever leaving the safety of the tunnels. Children would play quietly nearby, adults would repair tools or sharpen blades, and the space remained a calm, organized environment despite the potential for danger. These rooms are a reminder of the balance between survival and daily life underground, showing that even in shadow, human ingenuity and order flourished over generations. Navigating a sprawling underground city required subtle guidance. Small marks on the walls, lines, symbols, or carvings helped residents find their way through the maze of corridors. Imagine tracing a faint symbol with your fingers, centuries old, pointing towards storage rooms, exits, or living quarters. These markings were especially important for children, apprentices, or new residents learning the tunnels. They also served as a quiet method of communication, silently indicating direction or purpose without spoken words. Each mark represents the care and thought of previous generations, a gentle legacy of human organization and creativity, silently guiding those who followed. Walking among these markings today, you can almost feel the invisible guidance of those who once moved with confidence through the hidden city. While most life underground was private and domestic, some cities carved out communal spaces resembling markets. Imagine a dim corridor filled with baskets of grain, jars of dried herbs, and simple tools, where neighbors quietly traded goods, shared news, or helped each other solve problems. These underground markets were modest but vital, sustaining communities when the surface world was unsafe or distant. The muffled sounds of barter, laughter, and low conversation created a heartbeat of life within the stone labyrinth. Even in near darkness, life included interaction, trade, and the subtle comfort of shared human experience. These spaces show that underground life was not just about hiding or surviving. It was about continuing the rhythms of society, quietly and carefully beneath the earth. Even below the surface, people celebrated life. Certain chambers were reserved for festivals, ceremonies, or family gatherings, sometimes decorated with painted symbols or carvings. Imagine the gentle flicker of lamps illuminating these spaces, voices raised in song or soft laughter echoing across walls of stone. Residents would gather, sharing meals, telling stories, or observing traditions that connected them to generations above and below. In these intimate underground celebrations, the darkness became a cozy embrace, shaping the rhythm of social life and marking the passage of time in a unique, shadowed way. Life underground was not only survival, it was a continuation of culture, community, and joy, quietly alive beneath the Earth's protective layer. Some underground cities revealed traces of writing and record-keeping, tiny libraries of stone inscriptions, scratches, or painted symbols. Imagine a narrow chamber where faint words line the walls, recording trade, laws, prayers, or even daily events, preserved for centuries in the quiet stillness of stone. These inscriptions reveal the intelligence and foresight of the communities that lived there, showing that even in shadowed tunnels, humans valued knowledge, communication, and the passing of culture. Each mark is a whisper from the past, a story frozen in stone, waiting for a patient observer to imagine the people who made them. Walking through such spaces, one can feel the continuity of human curiosity and the quiet persistence of civilization in hidden corners beneath the world above. Many underground cities were carefully designed to sustain life for weeks, sometimes months, without leaving the safety of stone walls. Grains, dried fruits, and preserved foods were stored in cool chambers. Water was carefully drawn from protected wells, and every space was organized to maximize efficiency and safety. Imagine walking through rows of neatly stacked provisions, knowing that families could survive for months with these resources alone. Life moved at a calm, measured pace. Children played quietly in designated areas, adults maintained tools or cooked small meals, and communal routines were observed with care. Even in darkness, life underground was structured, predictable, and secure, a testament to centuries of planning and human ingenuity in hidden, enduring spaces. Underground cities were rarely built all at once. Instead, they evolved over decades or centuries, with new rooms, corridors, and levels added as populations grew or needs changed. Imagine standing in a chamber that was once a small storage area, later expanded into a workshop or living space, connecting to newly carved tunnels that extend in multiple directions. Each layer represents the patient work of generations, carefully adapting to their environment while preserving what came before. Over time, these cities became intricate labyrinths, alive with the accumulated knowledge, effort, and care of countless residents. Walking through them today, one can feel the weight of history in the stone walls, the quiet presence of lives that thrived patiently, ingeniously, and resiliently beneath the surface of the world. In many subterranean cities, life revolved around communal kitchens, where families gathered to prepare meals in cool, stone-lined rooms. Imagine the smell of simmering stews and fresh bread, the quiet chatter of children, and the soft clatter of wooden spoons on stone counters. These kitchens were carefully designed to be safe and efficient, with ventilation shafts carrying smoke away to prevent the tunnels from becoming suffocating. The warmth from cooking fires radiated gently through the surrounding chambers, creating pockets of comfort in the otherwise cool underground environment. Meals were more than sustenance. They were a rhythm of daily life, a chance for families to connect and share stories, preserving traditions quietly and steadily beneath the earth. Water was essential, and some underground cities featured wells carved so deeply that they tapped into natural springs far below the surface. Imagine lowering a bucket into the cool, clear water, feeling the stone walls around you, and listening to the faint echo of dripping liquid. These wells ensured that residents could survive long periods without surface access, a lifeline that was carefully guarded and maintained. Generations learned the rhythm of drawing water, measuring it for cooking, washing, and drinking, and storing it carefully for times of scarcity. The presence of water shaped life underground, providing stability, safety, and a subtle reminder of the quiet connection between humans and the natural world, even far below the surface. Even in shadowed tunnels, health was a concern. Certain chambers were reserved for healing, where basic medical care could be provided. Imagine a small, softly lit room with shelves holding herbs, poultices, and simple tools, tended by someone skilled in the knowledge of remedies passed down through generations. Residents would bring children with fevers, adults with minor injuries, or the elderly for care, and the space would hum quietly with attentive hands and soft words. These areas were practical yet deeply humane, showing that even in confined underground spaces, people valued life, wellness, and community. Health was maintained carefully, quietly, a reflection of thoughtfulness and adaptability in hidden worlds beneath the earth. Many cities were multi-level, with staircases connecting floors in spirals or gently winding curves. Imagine descending slowly, stone steps worn smooth by generations of feet, the echo of each step bouncing softly in the cool air. Each turn brings new chambers, sleeping areas, storage rooms, or communal spaces. The spiral design allowed residents to move safely and efficiently, while also adding an element of privacy and security. A visitor could not see far ahead, making it difficult for intruders to navigate. Life moved in rhythm with these spirals, daily routines unfolding as people traveled between levels with careful awareness, connecting generations through a shared path beneath the earth. Creativity thrived even in shadow. Archaeologists have found evidence of rooms where art or music was practiced. Faint carvings on walls, small alcoves for instruments, or painted symbols suggesting cultural activity. Imagine soft notes from a flute drifting down a narrow corridor, or the flicker of lamplight revealing delicate etchings of animals and symbols. These spaces allowed residents to express themselves, celebrate traditions, or mark important events, reminding us that life underground was not only about survival. It was about culture, expression, and the human need to create beauty even in the dimmest corners of existence. Art and music became quiet companions to daily life, echoing softly through stone halls. Airflow was critical for survival, and underground cities often included ventilation shafts cleverly disguised to blend with natural rock formations or chimneys. Imagine the faint draft of fresh air brushing against your skin as you walk past a shaft hidden in plain sight, the cool air carrying whispers of the world above. These shafts were meticulously planned to circulate air to living areas, kitchens, and storage rooms, preventing smoke buildup and ensuring comfort. The ingenuity of such designs shows the careful balance between practicality and secrecy. Residents relied on these invisible lifelines daily, breathing quietly in harmony with centuries-old engineering hidden within the stone. Certain underground cities were not temporary refuges, but permanent settlements, inhabited for centuries, sometimes over 1,000 years. Imagine generations being born, raised, and passing away entirely beneath the surface, their lives unfolding in dim corridors, stone rooms, and quiet courtyards. Over time, these communities adapted to changing circumstances, expanding tunnels, carving new chambers, maintaining ventilation, and preserving traditions. Life continued in a measured rhythm, children learning the tunnels as their ancestors had, families passing down wisdom, and the walls silently recording the passage of time. These enduring cities remind us of human resilience, patience, and the extraordinary ability to thrive quietly, out of sight, and in harmony with the hidden earth. Water was not only practical, but sometimes sacred. In certain underground cities, wells or cisterns were used for ritual or ceremonial purposes, perhaps for blessings, offerings, or rites marking important life events. Imagine a quiet stone chamber, the faint reflection of water catching lamplight, residents gathering silently to perform a simple ceremony, their movements deliberate and reverent. These rituals intertwine survival with spirituality, infusing ordinary objects and spaces with deeper meaning. Even below the earth, the human desire for reflection, connection, and reverence persisted, creating a rhythm of life that blended practical necessity with sacred intent. Within the labyrinth of tunnels, certain alcoves were designed as small, private spaces where residents could pause, reflect, or pray. Imagine a quiet niche tucked behind a turn in the corridor, the stone cool beneath your hand, a soft flicker of lamp light illuminating the walls. In these alcoves, people could rest, meditate, or simply enjoy a moment of solitude away from the rhythm of communal life. They provided mental space, a subtle reminder that even in confined, shadowed spaces, humans needed moments of calm, introspection, and emotional rest. Life underground was not only measured by survival, it was shaped by these gentle pauses, quietly sustaining both body and spirit. Even after a city was abandoned, its tunnels often found new life centuries later. Traders, travelers, or later settlers would repurpose old corridors for shelter, storage, or passage, discovering long-forgotten chambers and reactivating the hidden city in small ways. Imagine wandering through an ancient passage, noticing faint soot on walls, worn stone floors, or hidden niches, evidence of lives that had once moved quietly here. The layers of occupation, abandonment, and reuse create a living history in stone, a silent testimony to the enduring utility and mystery of underground life. Even in shadow, these tunnels continue to speak, holding centuries of human ingenuity, memory, and quiet adaptation beneath our feet. Airflow was essential in these subterranean worlds, and clever engineers designed ventilation networks that were often hidden in plain sight. Some shafts were disguised as small chimneys, while others blended into natural rock formations. Imagine walking through a narrow corridor, feeling a gentle draft of fresh air on your face, the stone cool beneath your fingertips. These hidden networks allowed smoke from fires to escape, kept chambers fresh, and even allowed whispers of communication to travel unnoticed through carefully designed openings. Residents relied on these invisible lifelines every day, drawing water, cooking, and sleeping in spaces that were perfectly balanced with the flow of air. It's remarkable to think that generations ago, people mastered this knowledge without modern tools, creating a network that allowed entire communities to breathe, live, and thrive beneath the Earth's surface. Safety and security were paramount. and in many cities, small hidden chambers were carved to store valuable items. Imagine a tiny stone room concealed behind a sliding wall, just large enough to hold treasured possessions, coins, jewelry, scrolls, or heirlooms. Families would bring items down carefully, ensuring that the entrances were well hidden from prying eyes above. These spaces were not only practical, but also deeply personal, containing objects that represented family history, memories, or cultural heritage. Walking past such a chamber, one can almost imagine the careful hands placing items on shelves, the quiet reverence for objects that connected people to the lives they had left above, and the sense of security that came from knowing they were protected by centuries of stone and shadow. In vast subterranean cities, structure was essential. Families and communities adhered to strict schedules to ensure efficiency and safety. Imagine waking at dawn, the cool stone walls glowing faintly from oil lamps, children quietly preparing for their lessons while adults tend to kitchens, workshops, or water collection. Daily routines included food preparation, cleaning, tool maintenance, and training for safety drills. Even the flow of social life followed a rhythm. Quiet hours for rest, communal meals, small gatherings, and work rotations. This disciplined pattern allowed thousands of people to live together harmoniously, preserving calm and order in spaces where chaos could easily take root. Life underground was measured in steps, whispers, and the gentle cadence of repeated action. A slow, mindful rhythm shaped by the stone that surrounded them. In many cultures, subterranean spaces were not purely functional. They carried deep symbolic meaning. Some tunnels were shaped to reflect religious beliefs, cosmology, or cultural values. Imagine walking along a corridor where arches curved deliberately, perhaps representing protection, balance, or sacred geometry. Walls might be inscribed with symbols, carvings of animals, or abstract patterns, guiding residents in their daily life or spiritual practice. Descending into these tunnels, one can sense a subtle intention in every curve, every chamber. The blending of survival with reverence, practicality with art, and life with belief. These hidden spaces remind us that even in darkness, humans sought meaning, beauty, and connection, quietly embedding their values into the very architecture that sustained them. Animals were not just companions, they were essential to survival. Certain chambers were designed specifically to house livestock such as goats, sheep, or pigeons. Imagine the soft bleating of goats echoing through a cool, shadowed corridor, the faint smell of hay mixing with the earthy scent of stone. These spaces were carefully separated from living areas to maintain cleanliness and warmth, but their presence was integral to life underground, providing milk, meat, feathers, and sometimes even acting as early warning systems. Families learned to move quietly around them, tending to their needs without disturbing daily routines. The rhythm of life included these animals as partners, a subtle yet constant reminder that survival underground depended on careful stewardship of every living being, and that humans and animals thrived together in intricate, hidden harmony. Few underground cities were built all at once. Instead, generations expanded and modified them slowly, adding new levels, chambers, or passageways over decades and centuries. Imagine walking through a network of corridors, noticing subtle changes in stone texture, ceiling height, or the width of passageways, evidence of different generations leaving their mark. Families built new rooms for storage, living, or communal activities, while preserving older spaces out of respect or necessity. Each layer represents centuries of life, adaptation, and ingenuity, a silent record of human resilience and resourcefulness. The slow evolution of these spaces illustrates how humans can shape their environment patiently, carefully, and creatively, carving continuity out of stone while maintaining a delicate balance between old and new. Water was vital, but it was sometimes more than a practical resource. Some underground wells were treated as sacred, their clear, still waters used in ceremonies, blessings, or family rituals. Imagine a small group gathered around a hidden well, whispering prayers or making silent offerings, the cool stone walls reflecting the faint lamplight. These rituals intertwined daily survival with spiritual practice, reminding residents that the hidden world was alive not just physically, but culturally and spiritually. Wells became points of connection between generations, linking practical necessity with reverence and reflection. Even in the depths of darkness, life included these quiet, meaningful moments that sustained both body and soul. Within sprawling underground labyrinths, certain alcoves were carved as intimate spaces for reflection, prayer, or simple solitude. Imagine slipping into a small, shadowed niche, feeling the cool stone against your back, breathing in the earthy scent of centuries-old tunnels, and listening only to the soft echo of distant footsteps. These spaces offered moments of calm and introspection, a break from communal life, and a chance to connect with one's thoughts or memories. Children and adults alike could retreat into these quiet corners, finding peace amid the hum of activity in the wider city. Life underground was not only survival, it was shaped by these gentle pauses, quiet sanctuaries that nurtured the human spirit in subtle, enduring ways. Even after a city was abandoned, its tunnels were rarely forgotten forever. Traders, explorers, or later settlers often rediscovered these hidden passages, sometimes centuries later, repurposing them for shelter, storage, or passage. Imagine stepping into a long-forgotten corridor, the air cool and still, faint traces of soot on walls, worn stone floors, and hidden niches hinting at lives that moved quietly long ago. Each rediscovery evokes wonder. The ingenuity of people who carved, adapted, and inhabited these spaces, the centuries of human presence preserved in stone, and the enduring resilience of subterranean life. These tunnels continue to tell their stories quietly, whispering the memory of generations long passed beneath our feet. Even today, the legacy of underground cities continues. Modern cities like Tokyo, Montreal, or Helsinki incorporate vast networks of tunnels for transport, shopping, and pedestrian passage. Imagine walking through these spaces, the quiet hum of movement around you, the smooth walls, and soft lighting echoing centuries of subterranean human ingenuity. These modern networks reflect the same principles that guided ancient builders: protection, efficiency, and adaptation to environmental needs. While contemporary tunnels serve practical purposes, they echo the ingenuity, patience, and resilience of our ancestors, who carved entire cities beneath hills and valleys. Beneath our feet, past and present converge, reminding us that human life has always had a quiet, hidden dimension waiting to be explored and imagined. In many subterranean cities, people slept in communal chambers designed to accommodate multiple families. Imagine a large stone room, cool and quiet, the soft murmur of whispered conversations fading into the gentle rhythm of breathing as children curl up on mats or blankets, and adults settle beside them. The walls, carved carefully from centuries-old stone, absorb sound, creating a hush that almost seems to breathe along with the inhabitants. Sleeping in such spaces required a sense of trust and intimacy. Families relied on one another for safety and warmth, and every small sound, every footstep carried meaning. These rooms were more than just practical. They shaped the rhythm of life underground, instilling patience, care, and an awareness of shared space. Even in darkness, life was full, structured, and deeply human, with quiet connections binding generations together. Survival underground required ingenuity, and many cities included small, hidden workshops for crafting tools, weapons, and household items. Imagine stepping into a shadowed chamber where the faint glint of metal tools catches a flickering lamp, the soft scrape of stone on metal echoing faintly through the corridor. Residents worked carefully, carving, shaping, or repairing items needed for daily life. Children might watch quietly, learning the skills of their parents, while the adults spoke softly about techniques passed down over generations. These workshops were practical, yes, but they were also cultural spaces, places where knowledge, craft, and creativity intertwined. In these quiet chambers, the rhythm of stone and labor became a heartbeat of subterranean life, connecting people to the earth and to one another in a way both practical and profoundly human. Interestingly, some chambers and corridors were carved to manage sound, reflecting a deep understanding of acoustics. Imagine a large room where a whispered conversation carries clearly to one side, but fades completely in another, allowing privacy and communication to coexist. These designs were practical for coordinating activities and avoiding conflict, but they also created spaces where voices, music, or chants could be amplified or softened intentionally. Walking through such a space, you might hear the echo of footsteps or the faint rustle of fabric magnified in ways that feel almost magical. This attention to sound shows how deeply residents considered their environment. Even in darkness, their lives were shaped by the rhythm, resonance, and harmony of stone, air, and movement, turning survival into an art form. In some regions, underground cities were not isolated. They were connected by water channels, hidden streams, or aqueducts. Imagine a narrow, damp passage where the faint trickle of water echoes softly, guiding inhabitants to distant sections of the city or even neighboring settlements. These channels served practical purposes, bringing fresh water, removing waste, and maintaining a stable environment. But they also created an invisible network linking communities. Residents learned to navigate by the sound and scent of water, their daily lives attuned to its flow. Over time, these channels became silent markers of human ingenuity, a hidden infrastructure that quietly shaped social, economic, and survival patterns, turning stone corridors into living, breathing veins beneath the earth. Even in darkness, humans preserved knowledge. Certain underground cities contained small libraries, or rooms where records were kept on stone tablets, scrolls, or etched walls. Imagine entering a quiet chamber, faint lamplight revealing carefully arranged documents, markings, or inscriptions detailing trade, laws, religious practices, or family histories. These spaces were sacred in a practical sense, protecting wisdom and memory across generations. Residents would come to study, record, or update information, quietly ensuring that the legacy of the community endured. Walking through such a room today, you can almost feel the presence of countless hands, turning, inscribing, and safeguarding knowledge, a testament to human curiosity and continuity in even the most hidden corners of the world. Ventilation was critical for life underground, and ingenious designs often disguised shafts as natural rocks or chimneys. Imagine a faint breeze brushing your skin as you pass, carrying the subtle scent of damp stone and distant smoke. Residents would feel the draft, knowing it maintained airflow throughout kitchens, sleeping areas, and workshops, without ever seeing the shaft itself. These hidden features show a remarkable understanding of physics, air movement, and human comfort. Even centuries ago, people knew how to balance practical needs with secrecy, creating environments where life could flourish safely. Every inhale of cool, clean air was a quiet reminder of their foresight and skill, a whisper of care preserved in stone. Despite the shadows and stone, children found ways to play. Some chambers were reserved as hidden play areas, with enough space for quiet games, storytelling, or learning crafts. Imagine a small niche where sunlight never reached, but children's laughter echoes softly, mixing with the faint smell of damp stone and the warm light of oil lamps. Games might involve small wooden toys, drawing on walls, or imaginative adventures through the labyrinth. These spaces remind us that even in survival-focused societies, joy, curiosity, and learning were preserved. Life underground was not only about work and defense. It included play, wonder, and the nurturing of young minds in quiet, shadowed sanctuaries. Underground storage was carefully managed, and some tunnels were dedicated to seasonal provisions. Imagine walking past chambers lined with dried fruits, grains, and preserved meats, the cool, stable air preventing spoilage. Families would rotate supplies, ensuring that food lasted through winter or periods of scarcity above. The layout of storage was precise. Certain chambers were kept drier for grains, while others were slightly more humid for fruits or vegetables. This planning created a rhythm to life, with residents moving between kitchens, storage, and living areas in a measured, deliberate flow. Survival required careful attention to time and environment, and these subterranean storages were a silent testament to patience, planning, and human foresight. Ritual and spirituality were part of life underground. Certain rooms were carved for ceremonies, marking births, marriages, harvests, or protection rites. Imagine the flicker of candlelight dancing across carved walls, the faint scent of incense mixing with stone. Families gathered in reverent silence, their movements deliberate and soft. Even in darkness, rituals created a sense of time, connection, and continuity, linking generations through shared experience. These chambers were places of reflection and community, reminding residents that beneath the earth, life was not merely survival. It was meaning, connection, and the gentle celebration of human culture in quiet, enduring spaces. The life of underground cities extended far beyond their initial inhabitants. Many tunnels were abandoned, then rediscovered and repurposed by later generations, traders, travelers, or new settlers. Imagine stepping into a long-forgotten corridor, noticing centuries-old soot, worn stone floors, and hidden niches, signs of life layered across time. Each generation left a subtle mark, carved a new chamber, or adapted an old space for its needs. Over centuries, the tunnels became palimpsests of human ingenuity, resilience, and adaptability. Even empty and silent, the corridors seemed to breathe with history, whispering stories of survival, creativity, and the quiet endurance of life beneath the world above. Even in darkness, hygiene was essential. In certain underground cities, residents carved small communal bathing areas, pools or basins fed by hidden springs or water channels. Imagine a quiet stone chamber, the cool water lapping gently against smooth stone, a faint scent of mineral-rich water mingling with the earthy smell of the tunnels. Families would come to wash, sometimes together, sometimes in small groups, quietly sharing water while exchanging soft words or stories. The sound of dripping water echoed gently in the chamber, a rhythmic companion to daily life. These baths were practical but also soothing, offering relief from the oppressive heat of work or the cold of damp tunnels. In these moments, life underground was not just survival, it was ritual, care, and a quiet, human connection to water and community. Children in underground cities were taught from infancy to move safely through corridors, staircases, and hidden chambers. Imagine a small child holding a parent's hand, learning the curve of a staircase, the feel of smooth stone walls, the way light and shadow shift as they walk. Games often doubled as lessons. Hide and seek, obstacle challenges, or playful mimicry of adults carrying water or food. Over time, children developed an almost instinctive understanding of the labyrinth, able to move through it confidently even in darkness. Their daily life blended play, learning, and survival. The tunnels themselves became a kind of classroom, shaping awareness, agility, and memory, teaching young generations the rhythm of life beneath the earth in ways no surface playground ever could. Ventilation shafts were not only for air, they could carry light, sound, or even smoke for signaling. Imagine a slender shaft opening into a main corridor, a faint breeze flowing upward, carrying the smell of cooking from the kitchen below. Residents could subtly communicate across chambers by sending smoke or sound through these shafts, a language of movement, rhythm, and timing. Some shafts were cleverly angled to illuminate rooms with shafts of sunlight or moonlight at specific times, marking days or seasons. Generations of residents learned to read these signals, understanding subtle changes in temperature, airflow, or light. Life underground was a dance with physics itself, a quiet harmony with stone, air, and time, where every draft, flicker, or whisper had meaning, shaping both practical survival and the rhythm of daily life. Animals were vital for survival, and some underground chambers were designed to shelter livestock during dangerous times. Imagine a family quietly guiding goats or sheep into a low stone chamber, the soft rustling of hay and bleating filling the air, children shushing animals to keep silence. The tunnels were cool, stable, and protected from invaders, ensuring that essential food sources remained safe. Families moved deliberately, careful not to alert anyone outside, and the animals themselves adapted to the quiet, dim environment. These chambers were not only practical, they created a rhythm of care, responsibility, and patience. The soft murmur of animals became a subtle heartbeat of life underground, a constant presence reminding residents of the fragile balance between survival and community. Rather than using wood or artificial materials, many staircases were carved directly into the stone, blending seamlessly with tunnels and chambers. Imagine descending a spiral of stone steps, worn smooth by generations of footsteps, the walls cool and slightly rough beneath your palms. The echoes of your movement mix with faint drips of water or distant muffled voices, creating a soundscape unique to life underground. These staircases were often hidden behind narrow passages or small doors, making them invisible to outsiders. They allowed discreet movement between levels, ensuring safety and privacy. Walking down these stairs, you can feel the connection to countless people who came before, their lives etched into the stone and rhythm of daily passage, a quiet continuum of human ingenuity and adaptation. Even in shadow, culture thrived. Certain chambers were carved or decorated for storytelling, teaching, or artistic expression. Imagine a dim room where faint carvings on walls depict animals, ancestors, or legends, while residents gather to tell stories, sing softly, or demonstrate skills. Children learn not only survival techniques, but also the history and values of their people through song, rhyme, or illustrated tales on stone. Lamps flicker, casting shadows that make stories seem to move along the walls, a gentle dance of imagination. These spaces remind us that life underground was not merely practical. It was rich with creativity, learning, and connection, a testament to the resilience of human culture, even in hidden, shadowed environments. Engineers who carved underground cities understood the forces of nature. Some tunnels were reinforced with arches, rounded ceilings, and strategically placed supports to prevent collapse, while others included channels to divert water away from living spaces during floods. Imagine walking through a corridor built centuries ago, feeling the solid stone beneath your feet, and noticing the subtle curve of the ceiling that distributes weight perfectly. These designs show a deep understanding of geology and human needs, a silent partnership with the earth itself. Life underground was built to endure not only human threats, but also natural ones, a combination of foresight, skill, and patience that allowed generations to survive safely and quietly beneath the world above. Healing was part of daily life underground. Certain rooms were dedicated to storing medicinal herbs, roots, and natural remedies, carefully labeled and organized for use in times of illness. Imagine the faint, pungent scent of dried plants filling the cool air, oil lamps flickering softly on stone shelves. Residents would prepare poultices, teas, or salves, passing knowledge quietly from one generation to the next. These chambers were both practical and sacred, emphasizing the importance of health and care. Life underground was not only survival, it was nurturing, tending, and preserving the well-being of a community in a way that required patience, attention, and profound respect for natural resources. Even in darkness, people sought connection with the world above. Certain cities included vertical shafts or hidden chambers designed to catch glimpses of the sky, sun, or moon at specific times. Imagine stepping into a narrow shaft, feeling a sliver of sunlight warm your face as it filters down through the stone, or catching a glimpse of stars far above. These small openings were both practical, for orientation or ventilation, and symbolic, linking the subterranean world with the cosmos. They reminded residents that life below the earth was part of a larger universe, a quiet reflection of human curiosity and wonder. These shafts became points of contemplation, anchoring daily life underground in the rhythm of nature above. Even after centuries, abandoned tunnels remain alive with memory. Worn stone floors, faded inscriptions, and faint traces of soot speak to countless generations who navigated, survived, and thrived in these hidden cities. Imagine wandering quietly through a long corridor, the air cool and still, imagining families moving through centuries of light and shadow, their daily routines, rituals, and quiet ingenuity preserved in the walls. These tunnels remind us of the remarkable resilience of humans, of the patience and foresight required to survive, and of the silent beauty of life adapted to extreme conditions. Beneath our feet, they whisper lessons about endurance, community, and the subtle ways in which humans shape their world, layer by layer, generation by generation. Protection was not always about walls or doors. In many underground cities, confusion itself was a defensive tool. Imagine a network of corridors that twist gently, then suddenly narrow, then open into chambers that look nearly identical. To those who lived there, every turn felt familiar, every curve memorized since childhood. But to an intruder, the tunnels would feel endless, disorienting, and unsettling. Small changes in ceiling height, subtle slopes in the floor, or repeated doorways created a quiet maze. Even sound behaved strangely, echoes bending and returning from unexpected directions. Residents could move calmly and confidently, while outsiders quickly lost their sense of direction. This intentional design turned the underground city into a living puzzle, where safety came not from force, but from deep familiarity and patience, qualities developed slowly over generations beneath the earth. Light was precious underground, and every flame mattered. Oil lamps, candles, and torches were used sparingly, often placed in specific niches carved into the walls. Imagine walking through a corridor lit only by small pools of warm light, darkness resting gently between them. Families learned to move slowly, allowing their eyes to adjust, conserving fuel for when it was truly needed. Certain chambers were brighter, kitchens, workshops, teaching spaces, while sleeping areas remained dim and calm. This careful balance created a rhythm between light and shadow that shaped daily life. Darkness was not feared, it was accepted, respected, even soothing. Over time, residents developed a deep sensitivity to subtle changes in brightness, learning to live comfortably in half-light, guided by memory, touch, and quiet awareness. Cooking underground required careful planning. Kitchens were often placed near ventilation shafts, with low ceilings and stone channels that guided smoke upward and away. Imagine a family preparing a simple meal, bread baking, herbs simmering in water, while the scent rises slowly, disappearing into hidden passages above. The crackle of fire is muted, contained, and controlled. Children watch quietly, learning when to add fuel, when to cover flames, when to wait. These kitchens were places of warmth and nourishment, but also of discipline and care. Every meal reflected an understanding of balance. Warmth without danger, comfort without exposure. In these quiet spaces, food became not just sustenance, but a symbol of stability and continuity beneath the shifting world above. Even without direct sunlight, underground communities lived by the seasons. Changes in temperature, airflow, water levels, and food stores marked the passage of time. Imagine elders quietly noting the cooler air that signals winter above, or the slight warmth that suggests spring has returned. Storage rooms are reorganized, meals adjusted, routines softened or strengthened. Children sense these shifts not by the sky, but by the subtle mood of the tunnels. Life underground followed a slower, deeper calendar, guided by nature's indirect signs. This seasonal awareness helped communities stay prepared, balanced, and calm. Time moved differently below the surface, measured not in days, but in cycles, patience, and gentle adaptation. One of the most striking features of some underground cities is the stone door, large circular slabs that could be rolled into place from within. Imagine a heavy stone wall resting quietly in a groove, perfectly balanced despite its immense weight. With practiced movement, residents could seal an entire corridor in moments, leaving only a small hole to observe or breathe through. From the outside, the passage would appear solid, impenetrable. These doors offered a sense of deep security, allowing families to rest even during times of danger. The knowledge that stone itself could protect them brought calm in moments of uncertainty. Long after they were last used, these doors remain as silent guardians, symbols of foresight, engineering, and trust in the shelter beneath the earth. Life underground was shaped by sound, or rather, by its absence. Thick stone walls softened noise, turning voices into murmurs and footsteps into gentle echoes. Imagine lying down in a sleeping chamber, hearing only distant movement, a faint drip of water, or the slow breathing of others nearby. Loud sounds were rare, and silence became a familiar companion. Over time, residents grew sensitive to subtle noises, finding comfort in the predictable acoustics of stone. This quiet environment encouraged reflection, patience, and rest. The underground city hummed softly with life, not through noise, but through presence, a calm, steady rhythm that gently carried people into sleep night after night. Stone is an excellent insulator, and underground cities maintain stable temperatures year-round. Imagine stepping into a tunnel on a cold winter night above, immediately feeling the steady, mild warmth of the earth around you. In summer, the same corridors remain cool and refreshing. Fires were used sparingly, and body heat, animals, and daily activity contributed to a gentle ambient warmth. Families gathered close, sharing blankets and quiet conversation. This natural temperature control reduced strain and increased comfort, allowing people to rest deeply. The earth itself became a protective embrace, regulating life with patience and consistency, far removed from the extremes of the surface world. Without abundant written records, stories were essential. Underground, history lived in voices. Imagine elders sitting with children, recounting tales of ancestors, migrations, dangers survived, and lessons learned. The flicker of lamplight dances across the walls as stories unfold slowly, deliberately. These narratives taught not only history, but values, patience, cooperation, awareness. Children memorized paths, rituals, and customs through storytelling. In this way, memory became architecture, built not of stone, but of words and shared experience. The underground city lived on through voices, each generation carrying the past gently forward into the future. Not every passage was completed. In many underground cities, tunnels end abruptly, left rough and unpolished. These unfinished spaces were intentional. Future expansion points, emergency shelters, or decoys. Imagine a corridor that fades into raw stone, tool marks still visible, as if the builders simply paused and never returned. These areas remind us that underground cities were living projects, always adapting, always ready for change. They reflect a mindset of preparedness rather than completion. Life underground was never static. It evolved slowly, patiently, leaving room for what might come next. At their core, underground cities reveal something timeless about human nature. The desire to protect, to adapt, to create community, even in the most hidden places. Imagine all the generations who lived, slept, worked, laughed, and rested beneath layers of stone. Their lives were quiet, deliberate, and deeply connected to one another. These cities are not monuments to fear, but to resilience and ingenuity. Beneath our feet lies evidence of patience, cooperation, and trust in the earth itself. As we reflect on these hidden worlds, we are gently reminded that humanity has always known how to slow down, listen, and find peace, even in the deepest shadows. Life underground changed the way people experience time itself. Without constant sunlight or the distractions of the surface world, days unfolded slowly, gently, almost imperceptibly. Imagine waking without urgency, guided not by clocks but by routine, by hunger, by the soft sounds of life around you. Time was measured in tasks completed, meals shared, and stories told. There was no rush, no constant reminder of passing hours. The underground invited patience. Movements were deliberate, conversations unhurried. Even emotions softened in the quiet embrace of stone. Over generations, this slower rhythm shaped minds and bodies, encouraging calm attention and deep rest. Time underground did not push forward. It flowed, steady and reassuring, carrying life gently from moment to moment. To those who lived underground, darkness was not something to fear. It was familiar, predictable, and even comforting. Imagine moving through corridors where shadows rest calmly on the walls, where your hands know the stone before your eyes do. Darkness sharpened other senses. The sound of breath, the texture of rock, the warmth of nearby bodies. It created intimacy and awareness. Lamps were used carefully, but often unnecessary. Residents trusted memory, touch, and intuition. Over time, darkness became a companion, wrapping the city in quiet protection. It softened edges, reduced stress, and encouraged rest. In this world beneath the surface, darkness was not absence, it was presence. Living underground required constant cooperation. Narrow corridors meant people waited for one another. Shared spaces encouraged awareness and respect. Imagine passing someone in a tunnel, stepping aside instinctively, exchanging a quiet nod. Every action affected the community. Noise, light, movement, resources. This environment naturally cultivated empathy. People learned to read subtle cues, to sense moods, to respond gently. Conflict had little room to grow in such close quarters. Instead, patience and understanding became essential skills. Over generations, underground life shaped communities that valued harmony over dominance, listening over speaking. The architecture itself taught these lessons, silently guiding human behavior toward balance and mutual care. Few places offer the sense of safety found deep underground. Thick layers of earth and stone separated residents from storms, enemies, and chaos above. Imagine lying down to sleep, knowing that nothing sudden could reach you. No wind, no fire, no distant threat. The stone held firm, unmoving, eternal. This security allowed minds to rest deeply, bodies to relax fully. Children slept soundly. Elders breathed calmly. The underground city became a shelter not only for the body, but for the nervous system itself. In these spaces, fear slowly dissolved, replaced by trust in the earth and in one another. Every movement underground required awareness. A misplaced step, a careless flame, a raised voice, all had consequences. This necessity fostered a natural form of mindfulness. Imagine walking slowly, feeling each step, listening to the echo of your own movement. Tasks were done with focus and intention. Eating, cleaning, teaching, resting, all carried a quiet presence. Distractions were few. Attention turned inward and toward the immediate moment. Without naming it, underground communities practiced a deep, embodied awareness. Life unfolded gently, one conscious action at a time, creating a calm that modern life often forgets. Silence underground was not enforced, it was respected. Loudness disrupted the delicate balance of shared space. Imagine a city where voices naturally soften, where footsteps slow without instruction. Silence allowed rest, reflection, and emotional regulation. It created a collective calm, a shared understanding that peace was something maintained together. In this environment, even small sounds gained meaning. The crackle of a lamp, the whisper of water, the quiet laughter of children. Silence became a language of care, holding the community together in a constant state of gentle awareness. Shelter is more than walls and ceilings. Underground cities offered emotional refuge, a place to feel held, protected, and grounded. Imagine the sensation of being surrounded on all sides by solid earth, the world reduced to essentials. This enclosure created psychological comfort, reducing anxiety and overstimulation. The underground wrapped life in boundaries that felt safe rather than restrictive. Even today, humans seek similar feelings in caves, quiet rooms, and enclosed spaces. These cities reveal an ancient understanding. Safety begins in the nervous system, and the earth itself can help calm it. While life unfolded below, the surface world moved on above, often unaware. Seasons changed. Cities rose and fell. Roads were built over hidden corridors. Imagine footsteps passing overhead, completely unaware of the centuries of life resting beneath. Underground cities existed in quiet parallel, untouched by trends or turmoil. This separation created a unique stillness, a sense of existing outside ordinary time. Beneath the noise of history, life continued softly, patiently, protected by layers of earth and silence. In our fast-moving world, underground cities offer an invitation to slow down, to simplify, to listen. Imagine stepping into a tunnel today, feeling your breath deepen, your thoughts quiet. These spaces naturally encourage introspection and rest. They remind us that humans once lived with less light, less noise, and more presence. The underground asks nothing of us except to move slowly and pay attention. In doing so, it offers something rare, peace. Beneath our feet, beneath layers of stone and soil, lies a story shared by countless generations. A story of adaptation, patience, cooperation, and quiet strength. Underground cities are not relics of fear. They are monuments to calm intelligence and resilience. As you rest now, imagine these hidden corridors stretching silently below, holding centuries of human breath, footsteps, and dreams. The earth remembers, and as your thoughts slow and your body relaxes, you become part of that long, gentle story. One that continues quietly in the dark.